And I think we are live, and then I can say, welcome to What If, and I'm Jostein. Thank you to the wonderful Josh who joins us ever so often. And
Thank
it's
you for
very
having me
nice.
again. Thank you all for joining us tonight. It's a pleasure to be here after some difficulties last time, and I hope we can get everything that was on the mind answered.
Yes. I have, however, if are we, if somebody can give feedback on our audio, are we volume-wise more or less at the same level? Then that would be good to know.
Lunar eclipse, everyone. Thank you, Natasha.
Yeah, you know, it's a good day.
Yes.
We can probably speak more about exactly that. I also have advertised, we're going to talk about teeth and why so many, or at least quite a few vegans turn their back to, or turn around and go back to meat.
Yes, very good subject. It's apparently a very hot topic right now within the vegan or
Just
slash
quick,
spiritual.
just sorry to interrupt you. Are you sure you have do you have your mic there, or is it the one you, no?
Can you hear the blowing?
No.
No. Okay, let me just double
Okay.
check which one we're on.
Try again now, blow one more time.
Microphone.
Oh, now, okay. It wasn't any first time, but now it was. Very
Okay,
good.
there we go. I just turned it up for you anyway, so
Oh, now we're talking.
there we go.
Maybe I'm low now. Okay, we will get feedback on that. So, I
So,
don't want, do you want to start with that, with why people change their mind, or?
oh yes, I
Yeah.
mean, there's a massive movement right now of unsure beings who maybe have been following ideas rather than going through the expression themselves. But I think and find that when one begins a plant-based journey from a standard Western diet or even a meat-based whole food diet, they begin to feel so very good. And that's what continues to drive them. And the more that they continue to remove foods closer and move closer to the source, which is more fruit and raw based lifestyle, because we are the only species on Earth which actually cook our food. They then just feel so liberated and less thoughts, less body pain, and just an overall better experience for the user of this body. It usually seems to be after a few years. There's a good number, about 5 to 6 years, where beings start to feel a slight deterioration within their health. Not everyone, but some people. Now, what's happening is that the vitamin B12 and vitamin D3 are very important. D3 being like a hormone. The structure of it is very closely related to things like testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, and things like this. And it regulates so many functions across the body. Vitamin D and vitamin B12 have been fortified in all the animals and mostly all of the Babylon foods, so like the breakfast cereals, the bread. And if we look back to a couple of hundred years, go on, please.
Sorry, I just wanted to say about fortified for those, because I didn't know what fortified was before not so long ago. So fortified is actually where they add, the animals get injected with these things probably, and like cereals and those things get added in vitamins, kind of to keep us alive, more or less.
Yeah. And if we look across the broad spectrum of things, our natural environment would be around the equator, where there's perpetual food and warmth, sunlight. As we have branched out further and further away from this place or this zone, we have donned clothes, go to work, have very different lifestyles than the human is supposed to experience. So one, the vitamin D is very deficient, and it's not just in the cultures that aren't living around the equator. For example, Indians at one point, there was between 90 and 99% of them were actually vitamin D deficient. And it's wearing clothes. You need to be fully exposed beyond 45 degrees of the sunlight, either side, rising or evening. on the belly and on the back.
Mhm.
Now, just 2 to 4 hours in the sunlight will expose you to about 20,000 IU, which is an international unit of vitamin D. And then this allows all these functions to go on. Now, with low vitamin D, you can't really absorb calcium very well. So this is going to bring us to teeth, bones, nail, and hair, etc. So with a low vitamin D, now the calcium is not being absorbed. Now, the fortification of your breakfast cereals, of the eggs, of these animal products that you were consuming, milk especially, you then feel okay. And the levels are kept maintained by the perfection of the system. And this isn't something people really have an inquiry with because they just go along feeling okay. And it's when you switch to this plant-based lifestyle, you feel great because you have high vitamin D, high vitamin B12 from the fortification of these animal products and cereals and foods as such. And as this begins to deteriorate in your system, you then start to feel different. Maybe a bit of lethargy, tiredness, weakness, not so much oomph in your system.
Mhm.
And for me to see this, it's so obvious that this is the only issue that's really happening within the plant-based, fruit-based communities is these two very important vitamins/hormones. The B12 regulates nervous system, energy production, you experience numbness, tingling, digestion, mood, and again, the vitamin D is so powerful at regulating like the depression tends to form very easily, tiredness, lethargy, weakening of bones, teeth start to deteriorate. And this is what I have seen with many people who have contacted our little ex-family community, especially coming from these higher spiritual communities. I actually had a conversation with a wonderful lady a few strongs ago, and she informed me that about 50% of the spiritual plant-based community in Bali have actually returned to meat or products of animal nature, which is quite alarming. Now, if these two things aren't high enough in your system, you're going to feel like rubbish. You're going to have cravings for the things which had this in previously. So you'll probably begin to smell maybe meat and think that that's what you need or crave eggs. But it's because the body has the memory of the last foods that it consumed with these types of vitamins/hormones inside of them. If you wish to delve deeper, you take a look at the animals. So let's say the cows and see what the farmers fortify these animals with. And you'll see is the B vitamins or B complex. This is also mirrored inside of your breakfast cereal. They have the vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin K, because vitamin K and vitamin D work together and they absorb calcium very well to bring strength, strong bones, strong hair, and a healthy system. Without these things, there's a slow deterioration of your health, and it's not been picked up on by anyone I have seen yet in the plant-based community. So what's happening is people return to meat and initially feel better because they're having these added back in, but then it leads them to sickness and disease eventually because they've returned to the products which are actually causing that in the first place. So most people are stuck not knowing really what to do. So rather than fortify yourself with animal products and processed foods that Babylon has done, it's probably a good time for people just to have a little check of their system if they are feeling unwell and maybe begin to fortify themselves until you have ample sunlight and you're growing food in your back garden.
Because that's the solution.
Essentially, it is. We are in duality, and there's always something which throws you off your belief. This is why it's so important to not stay rigid in your belief, because a belief is not necessarily true, and knowing is only this moment. And this is all we can truly know, is the experience we're having now. Everything else is a concept and an idea, which builds us into a box that soon passes and we outgrow. So everyone, I'm sure, who's with us tonight recognizes that the relationship between us and nature the great kingdom of life that exists in harmony with the wonderful ground in our bodies is vital and so important for us. Duality commerce has separated us in such a way through this experience that we must lead ourselves back to this health. And we shouldn't judge it. We shouldn't judge the fact of fortification. And yes, if you are already fortifying yourself, you absorb around about 10%. So 90% of it is rendered useless. So when you do your own research and find out how much of certain vitamins and minerals you'll need, how much falsities there is regarding vitamin D, and overdoses or too much vitamin D causes certain things, and you come to the truth that that is a concept that runs within the medical industry, and people have been known to take millions of IUs for many years and finding out it was too much, but yet there has never been a death or an issue with vitamin D overdosing, you would say, what the medical industry has advised. So like I said, they advise around about 1,600 to 1,000 IU multivitamin, which then 10% would be absorbed. So you're thinking around about 100 or 60 IU. If you get 20,000 IU in 2 to 4 hours of sunlight, which your body should be exposed to most days, then if there is a slight deficiency, it more than likely isn't going to remedy itself. And the public across the board is probably 50 to 70% deficient in B12 and probably more than 70% deficient in vitamin D. Just for an example, in England, from October to March, you can't absorb any vitamin D. So you can only absorb it for half the year, and half the year most beings are at work and come home and they don't really get to experience this sunlight. So it is a chronic issue.
Does it store?
Does it store? It's a fat soluble vitamin, so it tends to store in body fat. So it does store.
I'm doing good there now.
Yeah, and you'll notice when it starts to run down. You know, some people have actually gone to doctors and they've experienced like very close to zero vitamin D. And I'm sure that you were aware of like rickets, the issue that was there before fortification of the bone malformations and starting to bend. And then we have the iodine, which they started to iodize salt. And then you had the vitamin B12 being put into everything as well. Vitamin C was scurvy. So this is why there was a great need for fortification, because man has been removed from its center, you know, man and woman. Center being balanced in every way. And of course, the center of the earth is not the North Pole, it is the equator. This is where man was or should be. Whether or not there is a history or not, this is our balance.
What did you say now? Equator?
Yeah, the equator
is the center.
Is the center. The North Pole, which would be the toroidal 0 point, could be identified as the center. But if you have the center here of the plane, the center could also be referred to as the equator within inside the circumference.
Like a bullseye.
Yeah, that would be the North Pole. But then in the center of those two medians would be the equator, between both. The balance between the pole and the circumference would be the equator. So it's something to just take a note on. It's something to maybe look at before you try going back to meat, because in my awareness, it is something that a lot of people do, but then they do suffer. I don't know if you guys seen the conversation or the chat that I had with Vegetable Police and Jostein Carpenter, maybe around about a year ago, maybe a bit more. And his journey, he's been very open and honest, and he's tried everything from carnivorous eating to plant-based to fruit-based. he felt great on fruit, but then something started to deteriorate. So he went to eat meat, and then he felt a little bit better, but then his health started to deteriorate. And I'd probably look to have another conversation with him to shed light on some of this information, because it's so important, you know. And if we see our teeth health, which is also common with
But
beings who are,
can I just
please.
ask you just about municipal police, like, and for everyone else actually, is there maybe should it be a process, like, I guess it should, everything is a process, right? But maybe the going back and forth is not the best.
If one's
Like,
so
if,
inquisitive and is really searching for the truth, then I find that that is the only way to go. You know, you have to experience things yourself to truly know. Otherwise, the question will still remain as a thought that's unanswered. Then you have to come to the area of transcending it, accepting, and being present in the moment, not necessarily without full awareness of what is in your surroundings. So you may not know which way to go after you've experienced a level of suffering. But it's good to have time. I mean, he does spend a good amount of time on these diets. It's not like a month here and a month there. Um, he spends some good time experience in it, and he's open and honest with it. So if you haven't checked his
yeah, yeah.
journey, have a little look, because
No,
he's a lovely man
I
on
know.
a
I
journey.
have seen a lot. He's funny.
Yeah.
I see Finn have commented actually. He's back on meat now, quite hardcore too. It'd be
Yeah.
great if you can have another new
Yeah, I think
conversation.
this is uh something that's gone quite mainstream right now, I feel. Um, I spoke with my family about it yesterday, and then they informed me that my sister was saying that it's happening too, in her sort of field of being. So it's just something to know. You know,
It's it's
I'm
it.
sure. Go on, please.
No, I'm saying it's strange, because as you know, I also experimented with some things not raw, and no meats, but there are fish. Okay, did some. And it's not because I heard a lot of people were doing it, and now I'm going to do it. It was because I was kind of led there, right? So that's interesting.
Yeah, take it into consideration. Look at the logic. Check out the wide range of fortification across Babylon. Look at the animals, see what they are fortified with and why they would be fortified with these things. Every animal that you consume eats plants, because plants is the ultimate source of nutrition. Any animal that eats meat, other animals that eat meat do not eat, because there is no source of nutrition there. And any animal that eats meat eats organs, B12 stored in the liver. You know, so these things, organ meat is going to be the best option for someone looking for these vitamins who wants to eat meat. But
But okay, let me just ask you, if you, what would be most beneficial if you was going to eat meat, raw meat or cooked meat?
oh, don't put me in this situation. Raw meat is probably quite a dangerous thing for most people to consume unless they have dealt with it properly in their own space and their own animals. I think the reason why we cook meat is because it's most important to kill certain types of bacteria and parasites that exist inside the tissue. Um, Cooking meat, I would probably go with. Uh,
But
yeah,
if you also, for, I don't know how much you can use from this meat, cooked or raw, but again, the heat will probably kill something in this meat that is of benefit.
parasites.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah,
I've
no,
heard.
it's of course going to be a cross board. Anytime you cook meat, you're taking out enzymic, distribution from the plant itself or the animal. But again, we're not designed for this, and this is why I challenge anyone to sit down and meditate on it. And if you just had yourself and no tools, what animal are you consuming? Without a fishing rod, without a trap, without a gun, without a boomerang, a shovel. I mean, could you catch a chicken if it was running away? Maybe. That's the closest thing you could be able to
Maybe
catch.
chicken
No
actually.
rabbits, no rhino, no elephants, no bull, no bison, no pig. It'd be very, very difficult. You don't have a lust for these animals. Not once does, not once have I ever seen anyone sit there, an animal, and start salivating as it walks past. Have you?
No, I haven't. And I would be quite worried if I saw
Yeah.
one.
And children, most children who have been told that an animal product is the animal don't want to eat it. If a sausage was called a pig, they wouldn't eat it. Yeah. Unless they were of a certain age of conditioning and they believed that it was a food, then it might be a different thing. But yeah, it's not something that we are designed to do. No teeth to rip apart, no belly that likes this. So this is where all the disease is actually truly coming from. But again, without these essential vitamins, then we can feel like so terrible, so lethargic, so tired, so motivated, so sunken. You know, when you have B12 deficiency and it leads to B12 anemia,
Mm.
then you're as weak as a kitten and you look very ill, you look very sick, your eyes are very dark, they're very sunken in. And, you know, it's a worrying process to sit there with yourself thinking you're doing something right. You felt great and now you don't. And, you know, I think it's an important thing to bring to light
Mm.
because fortification has happened across the board
Mm.
for a long time. And until it was, lots of people were sick. Lots of people were sick. And the only places that people were probably all right was in the equatorial zones. And you look at the history of, let's say, the Amazon, and the Amazon is just an incredibly huge, vast place, millions and millions and millions of hectares. And there is ancient cities that exist that are only being discovered today, you know, by LiDAR.
Mm.
And you know, they had an ancient soil that they used to mix in that created a very fertile soil, because even though we may perceive rainforests to have very rich soil, they tend to not have. So they knew how to work the land and to create an abundant rich soil using predominantly a carbon like charcoal base. And they thrived there, millions and millions and millions of beings.
Mm.
And of course, these tropical zones have such a great culture. You look at somewhere like England or Norway, you know, there's no pyramids, there's no temples, no Taj Mahal. There's nothing, because the history here isn't really that old or perceived to be old. It isn't. You know, the kings and queens, they had castles. They were built by the beings that were possibly sold a dream to come to this land and then to work. And you think on horseback, or let's say horse and cart, or beings that were, you know, working for the king at that particular time, they would have had to bring, you know, food from other lands, very long journeys, bringing them to these places just so they can start a civilization.
Mm.
And thus commerce expanded. And we live here in the cold
Yes.
with our
What happened?
clothes
What
and our
happened?
trainers. Yeah. You know,
We're in the
and another
backyard. We're
thing.
living in. We're in the
Sorry,
backyard.
please. Yeah.
I say the backyard of the world.
hmm nobody would have chose to live here. You know, nobody. It's just something which has evolved and happened. Just as I'm sure the Mars thing, you know, beings who are going to be very excited to visit Mars, even though it's just across the South Pole, they will start a civilization if there is already not one there. And then those lands will have a longer dark than they do day because of the great circumference and the distance of the sun. And
I'm about ready to go there because the days are going too fast for me now. I need more
it's not
time.
Mars there. They didn't come from Mars.
Okay.
Yeah. The days, yeah, I mean, even in certain parts of America, I think that they see, sometimes two suns at the same time, one very distant and one here. And it's just across the plain. Ancient Chinese maps have always depicted these other places. But again, that's just another concept for one to sit with and blow the mind.
Yeah, I see there are some.
Sorry, please.
Yeah, no, I see they are asking if we could go back to the teeth. I'm just going to ask you, what do you do to keep certain you are on top of it with B12, D3, all what you need?
Well, I tend to try my best to go and spend some time in the sunshine. I just had 6 weeks in Spain, and we helped someone find some nice land and put them in contact with our friends who have an estate agent out there. And so that's the most important thing, we look at our son and we make sure that, he has, he walks around just bare in the sunshine all the time, just loves it, grounding. As for vitamin D, I think it's just so important that you kind of get yourself tested in this day and age, really, because if you aren't getting enough sun, then fortification, I think, is absolutely necessary, and pointing to around about 10,000 IU a day, because that would relate to a conversion of 1,000 IU a day, which would then give you 7,000 IU every 7 days. And as I said, 20,000 IU is in 4 hours of sunshine. So half an hour, 3 times strong would probably keep you very balanced. That's all that you would really need to have a functioning level. But essentially, the higher, the better, As for B12, eating as much you can from...
Just one question. In Norway, as in UK, probably maybe not as much, but we have in the winter very much darkness and cloudy days. It can have nice days, but the sun does the same job in the winter if it's blue sky and the sun is shining.
In the winter?
Yeah, there's no difference in the D vitamin.
I mean, see where the sun is lower than a 45-degree angle, you won't be able to absorb any.
So 45 or above?
Yeah. And if it's over the top of you, then you don't really absorb it as well. So
unless you lie down.
Yeah. I mean, well, even that is supposedly, science tells you.
Okay.
After sunrise, when it just reaches beyond a 45-degree angle, spend 30 minutes in a day time or evening time. And just absorb it as much as you can. We would normally live outside, and we live in houses with clothes on when we go outside. So we are very much missing on the vitamin D level. As for vitamin B12, very, very important. So very important. If you don't have cobalt-rich soil with organic farming in your land, then the bacteria doesn't really convert that into B12 and it's not really absorbed by the plants. The industry will tell you that you can't get it from plants, but this is where everything comes from, the ground. But we're lacking, which is another thing I will mention here because it wasn't picked up earlier, is iodine. Iodine is very important for the endocrine system, thyroid regulation, and all your hormones, which is another thing we're lacking in. So iodine was, as I said, with the salt, is another fortification, which is something we need to be very on point with.
So where could we get the iodine naturally?
So we get that. Well, you would get it from iodine-rich soil, which is not about within commercial farming. So we would use the kombu, which is very high in iodine. It also has a vitamin D3 in algae. So you would get some of that within inside your kombu or your chosen sea vegetable. And there is actually some B12 that lies within that as well. But as for, as I was saying, with the B12 synthesis, it's very, very difficult to maintain it. So I never really wanted to fortify myself with things such as yeast flakes with B12, B6, and these types of things. So I would prefer, if my level was low, and I would check myself every year to use the injections just to maintain a higher level.
You never had any issues with anything?
I used to have B12 anyway, just as a part of the health regime when I was younger, because I was like an athlete. I would say an athlete, like a bodybuilding athlete, just to make sure that I had enough. And I would say at least once a year, just to maintain that level. Just have one, There's a lot of worry about there's three different main types of B12. And there's worry about the one which has I'm thinking that it's not arsenic is the word I am stuck with right now. I'll have to find it 1 second. Cyanide, that's the one. Arsenic.
Cyanide, yeah.
So I found it there. So cyanide, so a cyanocobalamin, and they worry about toxicity of it, and it's like 0.1% of your daily recommended allowance of cyanide anyway. So it's an forming element. There's no risk of it. But you definitely should just make sure these levels are good, especially when you're looking on a whole food plant-based diet, raw, fruitarian, any of these things. Your body can deal with so much. So you're getting all of these vitamins and minerals naturally, but it's these 2 or 3 special ones that we're very deficient in. Very low mood, maybe underlying feeling of depression, achy joints, achy muscles, weakness, headache, numbness, tingling, almost very slow reactions, losing memory. I mean, you look at people with like MS, and nearly all of them are deficient in vitamin D, significantly, very deficient. The symptoms that you have, the achy muscles, the joints, the bones, weakness is coming from this. You look at Alzheimer's or neurological issues, they're coming from very low B12 as well. So could these things be remedied? We know that heavy metals, so, break the system, and you have maybe just one vaccine too many. You put too much roll on, mistake it for a lolly stick, and then you just acquire like a neurological issue. But a lot of the time, it's down to B12. Sometimes poor motor skills, you start having reduced function with your motor skills, things start knocking over. There's definitely B12, and that can just be remedied so very quickly. When you go down to like B12 anemia, which is severe deficiency, that can take a few months to start feeling better with, but you'll instantly remedy some of the issues within a few days, like numbness, tingling. I've known people to have their whole legs numb, their whole arms numb, just about feeling their chest, but nothing else. And then 3 days later, 4 days later, it's all back to normal. But because it's the myelin sheath, that can start deteriorating down the spinal column as well. And
Can you repeat? What?
The myelin sheath, it's like a connection with all the nerves that run down the body.
Okay.
And that starts to deteriorate when you have low B12. So it's not something to mess with. And like I said before, it really does recirculate in your intestinal tract with the liver. But it can last between 3 and 20 years, depending on the subject. So if after 3 years you start to feel a bit deficient, have a look. Maybe, animals like monkeys, they're very much in the soil. Sometimes they do eat their own poo, and it does come out in poo. I don't really recommend that. Everybody has their own choices to make. I have met people who have done that. But yeah, just remember that you can surrender every idea that you have about, health concepts. Just make sure that you feel good. It's your life, it's your body, it's your temple, it's your mind, it's your energy, it's your life. tried to be in control of it all. As Hippocrates said, use the food as medicine, your medicine as food, and be your own doctor. And we do live in this day and age. It's not natural environment. And give in to the mind that says you shouldn't be doing any of these things. Because one who loses limb function, I'm sure that it's not worth dying for.
No. And I thought urine therapy was bad, but shit therapy, that's fucked up.
Yeah. I've known people that have fasted for a long period of time and then ate feces and said it tasted very lovely,
Oh, nice.
Not something that I would ever embark in that journey. I prefer the fruit that grows beautifully in the trees for you and for me and the entire human race.
Yeah. I have actually noticed a bit pain in my, not that I'm thinking I'm lacking now because I got loaded up, but maybe some from the cooked food. Do you think cooked food can make your
Where are you experiencing pain?
hips?
Hips.
Could be also the leg press. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you may, going back onto that diet, experience acidosis again, and then you start to experience pressure in the joints and the hips and calcification coming on quickly. So
Yes.
acidity is probably a possible cause for the pain. But I know your journey, brother. I know where it's leading you. You're just experiencing something and it's going to bring you back full circle. And
Yeah.
it's going to be great for everyone to see because, I mean, essentially you just want to feel good and you're going to do whatever's right for you.
Yeah.
Which is the best thing to do.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm not.
Should we hit
the
teeth or go to talk about the teeth a little bit?
Yeah, let's do.
Or do you think did you feel you get it across the explanation
with the D3, it's just the same. Your teeth are essentially calcium and your bones. So if you're unable to absorb calcium because there's no D3 there, then a depletion is going to happen. Now, for meat eaters, they need extra high content of calcium because with the acid forming foods such as meat, dairy, and processed foods, your body neutralizes that with the alkaline buffer, which is calcium in the bones. So that calcium phosphate, which builds the bones, gets depleted. So you need more calcium. And then it tends to really not go in a favor. Like, dairy actually depletes calcium from the bones. So if you're not eating enough, you go depleted, even though it's fortified with vitamin D and calcium. So you're in full circle. But they've made it well. These are staples: bread, milk, meat, veg, legumes, seeds. And it has to be, you kind of like in duality. So you shouldn't judge it. You just need to navigate yourself around it and realize that this is but a dream, yet a wonderful dream. And the way that you perceive and see it is absolutely down to you. I would rather everyone learn to be the master builder of themselves and live in perpetual joy and happiness and recognize that you are the ultimate source of all creation. And this is just a momentary experience of many that you're going to have. And this is a necessary navigation through your own internal dimension of consciousness to then express something far more greater than this. But this is great. The next evolution of man is merging with spirit. The body is a very hard thing to have, to own, to experience with. It takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of time to keep it happy, to keep it healthy, to keep it fed, to go to the toilet, to keep it clean, to keep it dressed. And this is all but a choice. And I'm sure the next dream you have, it may have less tending to the body and just more to experience. So yes, teeth as well can recalcify, regenerate, so it's just over time. Just make sure that you're consuming the calcium and the vitamin K and the vitamin D to bring back bone health and teeth health.
Yeah, because this is kind of my question now, right? Because I have we've spoken about teeth before, but I need to do it one more time. I always had a bit bad, I would say bad teeth. I've always been to the dentist more than normal. Probably many reasons. But today, okay, during the fruit cycle, which I'm still on, by the way, they got worse to the point where my dentist said, like, what are you doing? What's going on? Of
So
course,
before your fruit, can I just interactively communicate with you here? So were you having foods that were fortified, meat, dairy, cereals, things like this?
no. This is 2
Before
years or before?
before the 2 years.
Before I could, yeah, I can eat mostly normal things.
So let's
Normal.
say that, let's just find it out as we're speaking, because I want to be correct. And it's been such a long time since I've delved into the world of information. Vitamin D3 storage. So the reason why we're saying D3 as well, because the body usually has a D2 conversion into D3. When you have D3, it doesn't need to convert, so it's straight inside of it. How long does... Hold on.
I'm quite sure that being lacking in B and D vitamins had their role in the
Yeah,
teeth
I mean,
getting bad.
absolutely. So like
So
around a month, there's a full storage, and obviously you're going to be having certain exposure every time you go out, and certain bits in like mushrooms and small bits of food. So I'm sure over the 2 year period, you're going to experience it drop very rapidly, and then you're going to start experiencing things like that. So I would say 100% it's not fruit. I've definitely done that test myself, and you see, mummies, as I said, and old skeletons with perfect teeth. Animals have perfect teeth; they don't brush their teeth. So, but they're getting essentially what they need in a natural environment. And if they don't, then they have poor health. Look at the vets, look at the pets that people can have. They're not in good health, digestive issues, shortened life expectancies.
Yeah, I have
And
no idea why I'm struggling with this in
I
this
would say
way.
it's just got worse just because of the lack of calcium uptake and the non-absorption. So if
I,
that's starting to reduce, then over time they're gonna deplete, because that's where calcium's stored. So bones will deplete, teeth will deplete, as using the calcium inside of them for the body.
Mhm. But I'm just kind of struggling to grasp when you think like how, like, okay, when you start doing just fruits, you will, after a period, deteriorate, you say?
The vitamin D3, iodine, and B12 more than likely will start to.
Mm.
And then if you're not having the D3, you're having calcium in your food, no doubt, but you can't absorb it
Mm.
without the D3 and the K. So
But
then that,
I'm actually not blaming the fruits for my bad teeth. I don't know why my teeth are like they are, and they are more. And this is way before my fruit journey, so they were always bad, as I said. So they are probably more fillings than teeth, most of them, right? It's a patchwork. So my question is, and now I'm like along the gums on the inside, the teeth are like undermined. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like you put your tongue there and you can kind of feel there's an edge. It's like the edge of the tooth coming down to the gum, and it's not meeting nice. There's a gap here, and
okay, yeah.
you feel it's sharp, so you feel it's there. There's
Would
something
you say it's
going
like more like
on.
receding gums or depleting
No,
teeth?
there's rotting teeth, or not. I don't know if it's rotting or what the hell is going on. It's
See, I mean, logic would say that it was a depletion of the D, which takes you to no absorption of calcium, and then the calcium needs to be used by the body, so the body takes from the body. So as it starts to take what it needs to maintain function, it's going to go here and it's going to go from the bones. So the bones start to get weaker, lose density, let's say, and the teeth will as well. But it's something that can definitely be brought back to life. So I think if you're looking for teeth health is probably very, I mean, you did experience, it was low vitamin D, wasn't it? Quite low.
Yeah, D and B.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then I think just maintaining a supplement on vitamin D. Now, I did see a question comment from Sister Joanne about what's the best source supplementation. Of course, number one is going to be the sun. Now, depending on what your opinion or choices would be with a D3 or D2, I would say D3 is probably the best because it saves it being converted from D2 into D3 in the body. And you have choices. You have one that's made from algae, and you have one that's made from like sheep's fur skin. So it's like they make it from sheep's wool essentially. Now both of them are going to be beneficial. Just remember that you will be absorbing 10%. So if you're having, like I said, a low dose, there's not really going to be any benefit to increasing it. Always go for like a 10,000, I would say, but make sure that you do it in your own knowing. And I don't hold any liability for the choices that you make. But I love you all, and I wish you all well, happy wellness. So D3, algae or this, or I mean, if you're significantly low, then you can have D3 injections, which are held in an oil base because it's a fat soluble mineral, and they range about 300,000 IU. And I think most doctors prescribe between 50 and 100 IU every week. But it has been known for people to do up to 1 million. If you read the literature of science, it will tell you that it is not a good idea to take any more than like 1,000 IU a day. But in my research and understanding and observation, that's nowhere near enough to help people maintain or even build up what they need to feel better.
Mm. Mm. But okay, for me now, I'm sitting here, I'm having these issues. I'm just uncertain if I should kind of, let's say, go for trying to regenerate the teeth. Also, how will that work if you have a tooth and it's patched up with lots of fillings? What will then the teeth regenerate and push these fillings out? You will lose the fillings, and then because I've lost a lot of fillings, but I don't know if it's because the tooth is regenerating. I can't imagine, since the rest is in its state. But what do I do? I'm about, I've been in contact with somebody in India to kind of get some work done, but I'm not sure what to do. I have pulled 2 molars because of not wanting to have a root canal, and that's about what I feel I can get on without.
I would just say that, when you're consuming animal products, you got to remember there's a depletion of calcium. If you're trying to build up calcium, then the most important thing to do is try to keep calcium you have. Looking at your vitamin D levels, making sure they're very high, and you continually have a high vitamin D to allow that to marry with vitamin K that should be in your fruits and vegetables anyway, to then reabsorb calcium. Also vitamin K and high doses of vitamin D, it stops any calcification in the body and pulls it into the bones, teeth, etc. So that's why it's a very good thing to marry. I would just make sure that I have high doses of supplementation, especially through the winter months. In the summer, maybe maintain it as well, but get outside in the sunshine. You'll start to feel significantly better, very elevated. When the sun comes out, most people just don't realize it, but they become to feel happier, at ease. And I'm sure it's more than what meets the eye. People just think it might just be from seeing a blue sky or having the ability to go outside without getting wet. But vitamin D is vital, and as I said, it's very closely related to testosterone, to steroids, to these hormone productions. So if you aren't having testosterone, you've got low levels of estrogen, any types of things like this, you feel terrible. And vitamin D is a very important thing. So I would just take your time, brother. Continue to, as I said, take the vitamin D. Make sure that you got high levels of it, and your teeth will naturally recalcify. Vitamin K is very important with that. That helps pull calcium into your bones and teeth, and
Yeah,
allow time to happen.
You actually seen the pictures, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, just allow time to happen. you're not going to be losing anything else, you know. And for me, in my own journey, when I was younger, I had a hole here when I was young, maybe 8, 9, in my new tooth, and I left it, cleaned it, and then it healed itself, you know. And I think it's only in the recent. I mean, my mum, when she was younger, used to be a dental assistant, and no one was really believing me that, you know, this tooth healed itself, because it wasn't in the literature and it wasn't known. But it's only recent in studies, and scientists have actually said that they can repair themselves. So it's something that's definitely possible. Just with those low vitamin D levels that you had, extremely low ones, it's definitely going to be depleting your system. But you're on that journey now, so just allow yourself to
don't know what will happen
resonate.
first, if they will regenerate or fall out, but we'll see.
No, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. That's probably just happening in your dreams at the moment.
Well, they don't
Waking
fall out. They won't fall out, but until they are beyond, I don't know. But it's in, you know, just because can teeth, we discussed this before, I think we'll be also inherit, also my grandfather had prosthetic teeth. My dad had really bad teeth. I have bad teeth. I don't know, maybe because I'm expecting to have bad teeth. But the kids are also struggling with the holes in their teeth. And one thing I found really interesting, actually, regarding the girl, she had like four holes her first dentist appointment. We were probably a bit early to give her responsibility of brushing her own teeth. So we normally helped, but she had a strong will and wanted to brush her own teeth. But what she did is she brushed only down on the left side, right? The brush down and this side, or at least 90% was on the left side,
Yeah.
and that's where all the holes were.
Okay.
So that
toothpaste, was this
this was a
standard brand?
fluor-free toothpaste,
Mhm.
but a toothpaste, but not with fluoride.
Possibly she was just having decrease in the good mouth bacteria in that area through maybe the certain toothpaste or brush in there that didn't allow the teeth to maintain good health. But I'm sure that wouldn't necessarily have been the case. I couldn't judge that situation.
You should at least think that, okay, the one place she shouldn't have any holes were where she brushed, right?
Yeah. Was she breastfed from
Yeah.
a young age? Yeah. Sometimes, well, a lot of the time, you know, that causes the breakdown of the teeth in milk teeth. That's why they're called milk teeth. And that's why you get a second pair, because without toothbrushes and, you know, on-demand feeding, you'll find that happens to a lot of young children, especially in these third world countries, you know, African children.
Let me just check.
As you asked the question, sorry, about, you know, is it in the family? You all live in Norway, I'm presuming.
Yeah.
You all don't get much sunshine.
Could be more.
You all probably have a similar diet because you all ate from the same type of programmed eating habits. And then that's where the sort of relation of, you know, family inheritance comes from. You eat what they eat what you eat, and it just gets passed down. But you definitely will be able to change that yourself. Definitely. Just, you know, have a good little juice fast and just keep up your supplements, eat really healthy, think really positive. Remember that the mind is a very powerful thing when you can really channel it and your intentions are set, you know, just like, you know, channeling the blood to a part of your body through like meditation and learning how to push certain vessels to activate certain elements. You know, you can beat frostbite and anything. What are you willing to do in your spare time?
You know, I think we, yeah, I got to answer my question. We can go to the list, the other one's questions. I just want to take one thing. which is not related, but it's interesting. I've been wondering anyway. I see the kids. The kids have these big pupils all the time, right?
Big pupils.
Yeah, big pupils.
Yeah.
Why? How come? Are they like responding to light and things like us, or is it like when they are done programming their subconscious, it just closes down?
Yeah, probably because you live in Norway and it's not much sun there, so their eyes are constantly open.
Yeah, it could be, but compared to me or my wife or anyone else, or other kids also have big pupils. I don't know.
Oh, you mean just regarding like children's eyes?
Yeah, like
across.
the pupil is dilated, looks like. And I was wondering, is it the kid thing, like until we know if they're just pure consciousness before they're the age of 7 or 8, right?
They start
it
to
like
not want to see the world and it shrinks down.
and then you're like, when you're programmed, it goes down to normal size. Where does the pupil go back? Do you know?
Do you know what? I've never even taken a note to that, so I'll have a little look at my little man's and see.
Do that.
Yeah, I'm too busy. I was too busy looking at the rest of the world and missed that.
Yeah. No, I just
that's
noticed because
very
I know
open
I
and
know
exciting, I'm
they're
sure.
too young to start drugs, so I know it's not that.
It's probably just down to, I'd say, like a brainwave, being in a certain type of brain space, open and not fixated.
That
I'm
was
sure
my
there's relation.
that was my thought. It could be like, okay, you are in program mode, your pupils are dilated. When you're
Just
done,
absorbing everything. As soon as they turn to 7,
yeah, I'm gonna keep my
Yeah.
eyes up because she's 8 in 2 months.
Yeah, good science.
Yeah, let's go back to the questions from the teeth questions, or whatever questions actually you can say, but I know there are teeth questions here. Otara Marie has some great topics today. I was wondering if our teeth will be able to be regenerated eventually instead of these implants. Okay.
Actual teeth, whole teeth, it has been known, but I would say it's a very rare phenomenon. You would have to give a lot of time and attention to it, and it would just all depend on your physical experience. But it has been known. They're growing them in petri dishes right now, aren't they? With stem cells.
Yes.
But teeth are teeth. If you miss the point of having them, taking care of them when they were there, just accept where they are. And if you wish to get yourself dental implants, just know that if there's ever an issue, it's more than likely down to an infection at the root, which is quite common. And it's not necessarily a good thing to do. So those young ones that are listening, eat good food, check your vitamin D, and make sure that you're healthy. Sorry.
No, I was just thinking, so that this is really last resort, right?
Yeah.
To get the. Yeah. I see BG Darth Maul has a question. Hey, hope you're both doing well. We are. Can I ask a question about teeth? Since I was a kid, I had a bunch of fillings, and now one to two of them, the teeth broke partially. What should I do? A dentist or other options?
Just trying to find that comment so I can read it as we. Sorry.
Okay, I think it's pretty midway in the comment field. Quite.
Last question. Teeth since I was a kid, had a bunch of fillings, and now 1 to 2 teeth have broke partially. What should I do? Dentist or other options? It's hard to advise these situations. It's all dependent on how you perceive things to be. It's more than likely, if it's causing some sort of infection in your teeth, it's best to go and have it, looked at. But remember that aligning your mouth bacteria is great with the MMS solution. So having your teeth cleaned with that will tend to kill all these single cell pathogens that cause disease, and basically keep the good mouth bacteria, which is very important to have a healthy mouth, and see what happens from there. Doesn't need to be rushed, but if you feel like it's urgent, then maybe just get it checked out and see what they say. Take your time and decision. Removal of teeth is something that we can fall trap into concepts, again, with I just think each and every one of us is on such an individual journey of perception. Just whatever makes you feel happy at that time, because you don't want to live in regret. Just continually evolve yourself consciously, and just remain happy in each moment that you have. Don't focus on the bad things. Focus on the good things. Focus on the teeth that you have got and take care of them, and address any type of pain that's coming. It's so key, People wish they have something, it's just focus on what you have got, and then that desire will subside, liberating you from torment.
There's another question, but there are more teeth questions. We can probably jump back and forth a little bit. Because Finn is asking, what does going barefoot do for one? Also, yeah.
It's just incredible. Essentially, we were always supposed to be barefoot and connected with the earth. Another thing I love saying was we are electrical beings, and everything electrical needs to be earthed or grounded, and this is why it is called the earth or the ground. There's a reciprocation of energy. You discharge positive ions and reciprocate negative ions, bringing balance to the body. So a great healing mechanism will take place. For example, if someone has arthritis or achy joints, wrists, you just go barefoot in the soil for 15 minutes and you'll find that the symptoms have been alleviated. So it's a very powerful thing to do. Also adding that with sun gazing is an incredible thing to do.
I was, probably, or you actually answered it, you said 15 minutes, because I was thinking if it's, also, is it a reaction quite instantly when you put your legs on the ground? There's like a...
Yeah, it just begins to reciprocate.
Yeah.
Instantly.
So it's not like you can just contact in a few seconds and you're balanced. You need to spend some time to...
Yeah, I mean, the body's got lots of positively charged things inside of it, so it'll just cleanse. It's like, it's like distilling water, for example. It takes some time to distill the amount you're trying to distill, otherwise you just get one drop done. So just enjoy it. Try and make it a regular practice. Like, we haven't spoken about these things for many years, but these simple practices, like get up in the early part of the day, whenever you wake naturally, if it's possible. Try not to set alarms if you don't have to.
I don't know if I probably told you at least one time, but I was for a period of my life having this in Norway we call it hjerteflimmer. It's like the heart is I'm gonna pretend to be my heart, and I'm gonna give you an example. Instead of beating like it's like so it's fucked up. And I was struggling with that for probably 5 or 6 years. 2 to 4 let's say incidents a year, and 2 times I had to go to the hospital and restart it, also stop it and start it again to go back to, because it's important to do that before it's gone 48 hours. After 48 hours, you have to go for a period of time on blood thinning medicines.
Yeah, warfarin.
Yeah. So, but I started to, or incidentally, I got myself a earthing blanket.
Okay.
You have it in the foot end of the bed, like for your lower legs about, and it's connected to an outlet just on the earth side, of course, and there's a silver thread inside the sheet, and so it's grounding you during the night. And my heart issues vanished. Yeah,
that's amazing. And I'm sure that if you've ever slept in canvas or just in a tent, it's a very different feel than it is inside a house. Very, very different. But yeah, I can't express how important it is to be grounded with the earth. This is why the warm temperate zones, most people just tend to take their shoes off and just walk. It's kind of a neutral thing.
I try not to
with this grounding, the sun gazing, and making sure that you take these processes that are very simple and basic into your daily routine. Rise, give thanks, do some stretching, some yoga, sit peacefully until you found that aspect of yourself that is non-reactive, and it will always start your day in a better way, and then just try throughout the day to focus on any type of thoughts that are circulating within your awareness, questions, bring them to light, recognize them for what they are, recognize them, put them into balance by bringing the falsehoods to the light. You don't need to suffer. It's a choice. If you don't know that it's a choice, then take some time, ask some questions, and truly initiate yourself into the wisdom that can be found everywhere.
Sister Joanne, hello. Back to the sun a little bit. We just take the questions as they're. So what about tanning beds? Beneficial for living in places without sun? Question mark. We've been told they are bad, but we know skin cancer comes from within, not the sun.
Yeah, very good point. Another thing, sorry, just while you brought that up as well, is when you put on sunscreen, I'm sure most of us are in the position where we know that sunscreen is very bad. And it's not something we would put on our bodies at all. We just use our awareness to make sure that we don't stay in the sun too long to get burnt. But that actually stops the absorption of vitamin D as well from the sunshine. So if anyone's using it, have a little dive into the issues that sunscreen can cause, and make a decision based on the knowledge you have whether you should use it or not. As for sunbeds, it's really hard to say because it's not something that we have as a practical science within our own environment. But some say that it does, like 5 minutes on the sunbed is enough for your daily vitamin D allowance because the UVB rays. But
there are
there's a possibility. Sorry, please.
No, I was just thinking that so there are, let's say, vitamins in the sunbed as well. It will.
It's the UVB light, yeah, and it works with the skin and creates the vitamin D, within the body. So it's just possibly, but I wouldn't like to guarantee or give any advice to say, if you're low in vitamin D, have sunbeds and you're going to be better. But it's not necessarily an unenjoyable thing to close your eyes and relax on a bed with some warmth if you're in a cold environment, but just take it slow and steady and do it with your own awareness. And I'm sure that it's not as bad as what it has been said to be. But moderation and everything. Remember that your whole food, plant-based, fruit-based diet is going to be so healing and bring you to balance with these small issues that you are within the Babylon world. Just keep up your truth and your occult practices, as we've just been speaking about, just grounding, just 5-10 minutes a day if you can. Sit down, do your stretching, eat well, take away thoughts, all negative thoughts, and just remain as you are. All the thoughts arose, then this whole system starts to function properly. Your sleep quota decreases. If you can stay in the conscious aspect of sleep, your sleep quota drops to like 4 hours as needed. Sometimes you may have experienced it yourself when you close your eyes and you feel like you're dreaming, but you're awake dreaming, and then you wake up and you think that you haven't slept well because you've been conscious all night, but yet you feel rested. Have you found that, brother, dear?
Just me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I was thinking you were addressing somebody. Enjoying my water. Come again.
I wish I had some.
Please ask again.
It's a bit skippy then. So if you begin to sleep, but you fall asleep consciously and you're aware and awake in your sleep, and then you wake up in the rising, but feel like you haven't slept well, but you feel rested. Have you had that experience?
Yes.
And that brings your quota right down, the need for sleep. But it's initially the thoughts that you should have this amount of sleep and not be conscious of it that makes you feel like it wasn't a good sleep. Having that sleep there, I mean, that's on its way to true recognition, really, because it does help one aid themselves in the journey to self-realization and realization of what this truly is. It's the consciousness aspect of a dream that you have fallen into and lost awareness of your true nature. Very exciting when you find this out. Take away everything, every thought, every idea that you have, and what's left? What's left of you? It's just this awareness. Nothing else. There's no problem there. Never will be. Could that be taken away from you? And someone take away the fact that you are aware? Impossible.
I see. Mary had an input on I heard big eyes are a rare thyroid issue. You may want to look into that. It's not the eyes themselves. It's just dilated pupil.
Yeah, that's more bulging eyes and related to thyroid issues as well. But I think Jostein was expressing the children under sort of 7 or 8, they tend to have a bigger pupil rather than eyes. But I would just definitely say it's down to what we spoke about earlier, our brain waves.
I think that's what's kind of if tan has
relaxed, less stress. When someone's relaxed, pupils can dilate, don't they? When they get excited or in fight or flight, they tend to.
I've actually been quite conscious about it and tried to follow them through the day, and they're always same size, big.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
But I just had a question. F-Tan had a question, training question. I heard chin-ups and press-ups are the best upper body workouts one can do, then to add extra weight into the movement when one becomes advanced. Are you into chin-up pull-ups?
Chin-ups and pull-ups are essential. Press-ups are great, but you'll grow beyond the strength that your body weight is quite quickly especially if you're a man. So this is why you would use like a bench press or a gym. Now, sometimes with pull-ups, you can be too heavy to be able to do a pull-up. So you'd have to be jumping into them and then slowing down on the rep downward, trying to create a resistance there. So I would say, yeah, they're great. You may have to work hard to be able to do pull-ups or even a significant amount for a great workout on them. This is why, lat pull down in a gym is so good, because you can work your way up to that type of strength. But what would you say, Brother Jostein? It's very rare that men can really do, more than 3 pull-ups anyway, and women can try to find it hard unless they're really in practice with it.
Well, I can barely myself do more than 3 pull-ups now. So, but yeah, I definitely believe you can get a long way just doing body weight exercise.
Yeah. Just make sure you do your legs. Body weight exercises are great. The first bodybuilders, did it with body weight and just mind control. So they would just focus and create resistance within the muscles, and that would do something to the shape. But any type of resistance training can be great. And those movements, those compound movements are great, pull-ups and press-ups, incredible. Body weight squats are going to get you so far. Maybe you could use your partner or your child to put on your shoulders and do them. But you can do a lot of stuff at home. But it all depends on the orientation of your goal. So I'm sure that you are on the journey of what you need to be and where you need to be and finding out and experiencing things that's necessary for you. But yeah, in a short answer, they are great for the body. They will only build you so far. Press-ups a bit less than pull-ups because, like I said, you get strong for press-ups quite quickly. I think by the age of 12, I was able to do. Sorry, I display on the chat.
Okay.
Press-ups, I was doing a couple of thousand a day, a couple of thousand sit-ups a day when I was 12, and I don't think I was able to do pull-ups because I had nowhere to do them. So I was in a gym doing those types of exercises at 12.
No wonder. There's a question from Brendan, which I think he's asked in previous chats. So I want to let him get an answer. Could you please talk about the separateness between us all? What makes the difference of experience we're having? We are all the same, but yet we have completely separate journeys, incarnations.
I would say that is conceptualized, and all we have is the experience that we have. If we try to look at other people's experiences, we're never truly going to know, because it's mental, physical, emotional experiences that are collected. All I tend to look at is what's here and now and this experience. And I use the word selfish, as self is only found in selfishness, but not being selfish in the way of virtue. Is being so attentive to in your experience, and at the time the rest of the world isn't existent, because it's what's here and now. And that keeps you so focused in a perpetual state of happiness without taking on the issues or concepts that arise in trying to think of others, or what if this was happening, or poor children over here. And this just brings you into drama that's unanswerable. So we're not separate at all. And the one which is dreaming within his own experience can perceive that there are others when there aren't. It becomes very deep, and only a few people with a great seeing know that this is a dream. Now, when you dream, others are not separate from you. Others arise in you. So everyone that you see has arisen within inside of you. So how can they be different and separate from you? You're perceiving the verbatim and the speaking, the relationship. But what's to say that there is an individuality within inside them, or are they just seen from within inside of you? Now, you could take a step down from that perception and go into physicality and bring it to the field, which emotes from the torus energy. And then everyone who is a player is a P layer, or a layer of light on the P lane, which is the light lane. And each individual being or person has their own individual consciousness and seeing, but is connected to the original torus self. But this is rooted deeply in physicality only, because physicality itself is non-physical. It can never be physical, because physicality had to arise from something. This is the great dreamer. So these concepts are great questions, but they're unanswerable until one has gone through the experience themselves to seek or to find or to realize that which is true and that which isn't. When you have, you can enjoy these concepts. But if they are deep-rooted questions, then you continue your journey until the realization has happened that this is it. This moment, this now, you. Without you, there is no one else. You will never disappear. You're always here. Everything that in your awareness or the field of awareness comes and goes, people, beings, thoughts, emotions. But as I said earlier, there's only one thing which stays. That's the unchangeable. That's the everlasting life. That's the one which creates everything inside of itself. Just try to remember your dreams tonight, or make it a regular practice. Just remember something from the dream, someone you've seen, some experience you had, and think deeply, contemplate. They weren't there. I seen them. They were in my field, but they weren't there. How is this life any different? Your consciousness fell into the dream at night, and for a short moment it believed it was the person in the dream experiencing other people, but yet it remained the same as a witness, that this dream came from within and was seen and experienced, felt, smelt, tasted, touched, kissed, driven a car, whatever your experiences are. They weren't real, but they felt real. It's just the same here. Now, I'm not saying I'm speaking to people that aren't real, because that may come across very different. But when one realizes the dream, and it's the only possibility, You know, my little boy asked, he jokes, he said, which came first, Dad, chicken or the egg? You know, he's only 6 and his awareness is growing. But these questions, you know, he says them to make us laugh. But you think for an egg to come first, there would have had to have been a chicken, but a man and a woman chicken. But for the man and woman chicken, there would have been 2 eggs. But the idea of a chicken and a man and a woman chicken arose within the awareness. Thus, then came the egg. So truly, the idea of a chicken that had an egg inside of it that could create a baby came into fruition as a thought from the greatness, from the source. And then it was manifest. Because there is no possibility that the chicken or the egg could ever come first in a physical world. There is no possibility that evolution has taken place through form. In physicality, it's only adaptation that takes place. Things adapt to the environment. But there's no cross-species evolution ever been recorded. And it's not possible. So we must take these things into consideration over a time and let our consciousness expand. But life is beautiful. This whole physicality is full of concepts. But to delve into concepts first is a great way to expand and hopefully find your true source. But to find your true source first and then to go into these concepts for fun is another great thing. But there's mysticism, mastery of all elements, or just the self. Either way, when you recognize who you are, what you are, where you are, when you are, there's a level of freedom and enjoyment that comes from each moment.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was just
For
gonna.
everyone.
LJ has a question just regarding, since we just talked about it, what would make someone not remember their dreams? I hardly ever do. Smoke much?
You're an avid ganja smoker. Do you smoke cannabis? Because that can take away the REM sleep, the dream state. Puts you in phase 3 sleep a bit deeper. So it's not like you're gonna really lose good sleep, but it tends to lose the ability to remember your dream. If you hardly ever do, then maybe it's time now that it's going to begin to happen. Don't focus on it too much. Before you fall asleep, lose your grip on this reality with your attention fixated on another form that you're creating in an experience, and allow yourself to fall into that form and enjoy the experience of what you've created there. Because it's only when you take your attention off this physicality do you then create worlds. If you are fixated on that you do not dream, you'll remember nothing. Let go of all these concepts that you have. You have this moment, you have this night, you have this sleep. You truly wake up when you go to sleep. And you can then fall asleep within the dream that you create and believe that you are the person. Believe that you are the body having the experience within that dream. And then you wake up to this dream where the actual consciousness is so fixated in physicality that it's rooted into the experience as it is the body. And all you need to do is defragment the ideas. Ask yourself these simple questions that we've spoken about and come to the realization that all that is there is awareness. And that can never go. Nobody can take that from you. No idea can be taken from the fact that you're aware of all ideas. And everything that you see, you're aware of that. And the awareness comes from within. Searching for something that you can never find. Because you're it. And you always have been it. In the magic of life, in the experience of now. Lost in the mind is being created within yourself as well. The mind is the choice, it's the donut. Do you eat the donut? Do you take the thought? Do you leave it? Say no, thank you. Do you remain as you were before the thought arose? 99.9% of people are okay until someone did something to them. that their preferences and the identity says that this wasn't good. You know, we look at the race of black people, white people, Black Lives Matter. This is a big thing going in the Matrix. All lives matter, but this segregates and creates diversion from what's true. Now, somebody who is of color could be offended by the N-word because it's a choice. Now, that N-word doesn't offend somebody that's white. The word's not offending people, it's the perception of the word and the meaning of it that they hold dearly and rooted into the personal identity. Words are words. Words can be spells. Words can be nothing. Sigils of syllables, the spelling of spelling. It only means something to the person. And the beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. See everything as beautiful. Let go of badness. Because all of these things are just concepts. Your children are running around, making noise, but you've told them not to make noise. And you feel like deep-rooted inside the person that they need to be listening to me. But yeah, every time you bring them back to that moment, you told them, you're creating a mirror image of you inside of them, of the person. They begin to copy those traits. The traits that you see in them were the ones of you, and they shouldn't be doing it. And you build this big construct of a person, and it can just be let go of. Children are young, they're learning, they're expressing. We kind of just got to support them. Let go of the idea of control with them. Let them run their course. Just keep guiding them with kindness, just as we should with everyone. You can't change will. That's so powerful. The idea that we can change somebody's will is such a concept that we tend to fall trap to when we begin to be more spiritual and we believe that we know better. And the idea of knowing better, we create separation between us and our friends and our family because we push that which we have come to know as truth to be something more advanced than that which they're doing, and they need to know. And that bridge of separation that causes an expansion again in your own awareness, because it comes to you to realize the fact is you can't change anyone or anything. So you let go of the idea of preaching and you allow others that are open to communicate, and you respond instead of reacting as the person that knows better. Such an incredible journey, you know. On one of our Q&As just said it was with a beautiful man that we've had for a few years with us, and saying it, he used to listen to me tell him that he got to let go of trying to, you know, tell others these things. And it's took him a full 2 years to be able to let go of the idea. But in doing so, just so much liberation has come. It's the spiritual arrogance that stops us from being ourselves. We try to pull others to see as we see, when we can just be happy that we see. The immaculate concept, my dear brother. When I had that revelation many years ago, everyone's talking about Christ being born of immaculate conception. The man Jesus is separate from Christ. Christ is his awareness. So Jesus was a man until he let go of his concepts, then he became Christ. It's as simple as that. We're looking for something so much more mystified, but this is the mystical journey now. Phenomenal reality, experience, smell, taste, touch, sight, hearing, sound, everything is here. We miss it in thought.
I actually see in my, at least in my feed, which is probably a bit affected by my preferred content, but I see there's a bit of, it seems to be more of this discussions around these things, like Jesus, you know, the Christians with Jesus, and then the other ones and they're kind of debating, discussing if what is Jesus? Is it a man, and he's coming back like a man, or is it consciousness? Right? I see that, but there's a discussion. That's
Okay.
good.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, he wasn't my friend, but I'm sure that he was a man. And even if he wasn't a man, he was a story of a man that was able to reach a place where he let go of the idea.
Isn't the story quite similar if we're talking about Buddha or anyone else? That there's
even the zodiac signs of the sun, you know, all of that is there's so many concepts that arise with it that I went through every single one of them, you know, but it just fills people's minds with stuff that can probably lead them astray into concepts that make them feel like they're getting more power through knowledge. And that great saying that knowledge is power, but it's the idea of letting go of knowledge that creates power. You know, I think more knowledge can create a force, and then people tend to use that force to project on, but it should eventually lead one, as long as they keep accepting and surrendering the ideas, to power. So, you know, the Jesus was the sun is another one, but it's all correlated. The sun goes through the 12 zodiac signs. You know, on Christmas, he died and then resurrected. But it's essentially the journey of man through the 12 constellations, the 12 experiences of zodiac signs and traits. TRA is like the physical expression of its 8, which is an 8, is the field. So a trait that everyone has due to astrology is very obvious when you begin to take an objective look at people, personalities, and star signs.
You know, I find it quite, let's say, interesting that people don't correlate the things. Okay, maybe many don't know. That's another thing, you know. But I've been talking to Christians and discussing these things like, okay, but you know, Jesus died on the cross, stood up after 3 days. And when you put it into this, let's say, aspect with the 20th Christmas and the days around it, you know, where the sun dies the 21st and arise the 23rd, 24th, when we are in the constellation the Crux. So it doesn't seem to ring any, they don't seem to make the correlation, or at least think it's interesting.
Even a cross or a crux is a balance, you know, and the X marks the spot. The X is the masculine and feminine united. When you unite masculine and feminine energies within, it's a sign of letting go of the person to allow the divine feminine energy to create the reciprocating field of the body, which aligns health, physicality, and perception to unity. Unity being one tie. This is union, which is bringing the one on. This is the atonement. The at one ment, which is the at one mind, which is all the same as this immaculate conception. So as above, so below. Astrology is a representation of the body, the cycle of man, the journey of Solomon, which is the solo one. Solomon, mon is one, so it's the solo one. This is all down to you could even correlate it with Freemason. You're freeing. Mason is the builder. It's the freeing the builder. And the temples, number 11, the L evening the L's, AL, EL, redshift, blue shift. It's down to the magnetic magic of Magdalene, Jesus. It's so unified, but this is what consciousness is. This is what consciousness does. It just expresses itself so divinely through everything, and even the language, you know. Language, symbols, signs, words, vibrations, geometry, form. And when one has the ability to see it through, you know, application of truth, the mystic is born. And for me, Jesus' story just simplifies down into that, you know. Jesus was a man who took a great journey, who was able to see beyond the lies, see the money changers, see the false system, see the persona, and to be able to help others see that. In doing so, he was on the cross. So the body was placed upon the cross. The cross was the death of the man, and thus the man came into Christ. Christ, in language, or let's say the hieroglyphic language I discovered, you could say, through observation of language, words, etc., is seeing the vibration of the full magnetic consciousness sine wave within the physical. So seeing consciousness in its full energy reciprocation, which would be the torus, within the sine wave of physicality. So you begin to see everything as a whole, and that's the Christ consciousness itself. So Jesus was a figure for us to admire, like not relating him to a Sadhguru in any way, but like a Sadhguru. Sadhguru is as a modern day mainstream evolutionary aid. Yeah, he doesn't speak of the dream to the level, like a Muji or a Papaji, but
I just heard the Sadhguru kind of pushing the "we are too many" narrative. Also, the Earth has too many, and population reduction, he thinks is a good idea.
yeah,
He also how do you say, supported vaccines.
that's the
Like,
mainstream.
hmm?
You have to change. Someone has to change the perception of the mainstream's view on spirituality, and that's his place in the matrix. He has a certain element of truth, but if he spoke up against vaccines, the mainstream wouldn't follow him. They would go against him.
Okay.
And
So it could
he
be a
speaks.
plan.
I think it's just the nature of consciousness has expressed the form of Sadhguru in a way that it needs to.
Okay.
As an individual, it's very hard to say, because for me, I see this as a big expression of consciousness. So he has a necessary part to play, otherwise he would not be here. And then those that create a judgment on him just fall trapped to the judgment of themselves, and want to change the idea of what Sadhguru has and is doing. But, he's planting millions and billions of trees. He's got millions and millions of volunteers that are creating a shift, a big shift. I mean, he's doing a lot more than what most people could. The idea that there is a need for population reduction has already happened. We need loads of people to start making loads of babies to try and counteract that, because I think it's just going to fall in line with the evolution of robot technology. Less humans to do less things, more robots to do more things that replaces the human. And in about 30 years, we're going to see the effects of this population reduction, which has just been done over time. Now it's happening through defeminization of women, demasculinization of men, saying men and women are equals when they're opposites, but have equal roles in the opposing sides. We have women that feel through program nature that they are empowered to go to work and do the jobs of man. We're having children brought up without the feminine mother energy, without breastfeeding, without skin on skin, without love, into hybridization of computer. But it's perfect. It's not for you, it's for them. This is an evolution of consciousness that's necessary for beings to go through, that need to go through it. It's no longer war, it's no longer pain, no longer barbaric. It's just traps. Computerized traps that keep a simple being in a simple place under a simple rule. By choice, may I add. When have you ever not had a choice? When do these people playing the computer games not have a choice? When do these mothers and fathers not have a choice to have a baby or not? They have a choice to eat the good food. They have a choice to vaccinate their children. They have a choice to take drugs and do alcohol. They have a choice to go to work, whether or not they believe it. They have a choice to start a business up. They have a choice to invest. They have a choice to do all these things. They have a choice to learn. They have a choice to invest the money they earn back into themselves to be able to create a better understanding of money, business. People turn against the billionaires and say it's not fair. I mean, these people have earned it. These people have learned it. I'm not saying that there's not a great vision and perception and information which can be coerced into conspiracies or not, of these people having negative impacts on society across the whole. But if we look at the individual, they more than likely believe that what they're doing is right. And yes, if you could not pay taxes, I'm sure that you would choose to have your Cayman Island accounts and giving to vaccine companies as a donation and being a philanthropist, because you believe that vaccines work, just like many other people. Let's say if Bill Gates was a mystic and a seeker of light consciousness and found himself, I'm sure the story would be very different. I'm pretty sure he doesn't always do it. Just as Sadhguru is an incredible man with some opinions that is speaking many truths, but also not. And that's fine because that's what he believes. And because someone has found, let's say, he may or may not have found the self, he's had a great journey and he has some beliefs, but they're not yours. These people in the matrix are there for you to fall trap to the ideas to by not empowering yourself with the gnosis and walking through the journey yourself. Know thyself. Know the world, know the mind, know the body. You can't go wrong. You can't be deceived. And because someone is doing something within the world, which is a perceived perception, and all of this is coming from within you, just remain peaceful and balanced. That's all you can do. Population reduction is real, it's happening, and it's going to come on very quickly. But it's a part of consciousness, just as these predators have been eliminated over time through our experience. We're no longer seeing that many animals that consume meat and flesh. This is changing. There's consciousness adapting to a new seeing, to a new type of behavior, to a more peaceful one. Let's not resist or create a resistance, because the resistance is only found within. And then through that resistance, you see new laws being passed. And then we say these laws are being passed against peaceful people that are peacefully protesting. Now they can be arrested and taken their details and put when you protest, there's a lack of understanding of consciousness itself, but it's your part to play in consciousness. If you protest peacefully, you're going to be fine. If you do that and you bring aggression and you have plots to take down people that truly believe what they're doing is right because you believe they know what they're doing, then this system is perfect as well. These people that believe that you're doing something right, these people believe, but do they have a right to come to your house and throw paint on it or smash your car up or even, threaten your life when you don't know what you're doing? You just thought you were doing good in the world. You thought that you were aiding in AI because you thought AI was going to benefit mankind. Alleviate some of the stresses. I see very simply in the future that there's hemp houses or some sort of material such as that are going to be 3D printed. You're going to 3D print a block of apartments in a day or two. Instead of having cranes and manual labor, you're going to have these big 3D printers that will print up your houses.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they're taking away the works of man. Well, to be honest with you, I don't think most men really like getting up, or women, and doing this manual labor for the rest of their life just to survive. Sweeten your seeing, everyone. And I don't mean to cause any offense to anyone, but if there was some offense, just try to remember that we cannot change anyone's will or perception. They have to be ready to change it themselves.
Yeah, I'm gonna do, we've been doing it 1 hour, 50 minutes. I wanted to do one more question and maybe two. But okay, let's do it, Natalie, first. Hi, Josh. Shall we do blood work on our children under 7 years of age? How do we know they're getting what they need for growing brains and bones? We are vegan, but my kids don't love too much fruit.
Well, first of all, breast milk is the most important thing we can give our children for a great start in life, and everything is there needed, vitamin D and the whole works, even the endocannabinoid replenisher that goes into the system to help early development. There's going to be stores in the baby from being passed on from you. Just take a look at the signs, make sure their skin is glowing and not gray. A lot of vegan or not plant-based children, a lot of vegetarian children or vegan children tend to have like a light grayish tone to their skin. You just know if they're a little bit underweight, then it might be beneficial to get some blood work done just for your own safe, keep-ins. And then just make slight adjustments. If not, our boys never had any supplementation. We just make sure that we give them a very, very rich diet with plenty of fruits, plenty of nature, plenty of grounding, and just keep observing him. We give him a lot. He loves his kombu. He wants it every day. So we just make sure we do that. And I think adding kombu into your diet, and we have a video on our website how to make it. We tend to boil it and not eat it, and then freeze them into ice cubes, and then have one a day each. I think it'd be fine. But if you notice any low moods, lethargy or graying or sunken eyes, things like this, then it's best to, or just slowly just give slight supplementation from the cleanest supplements you can find. And it has come to light that it's possible that I'm just going to take a little look into to how easy it would be to create a supplement, a very clean supplement of natural origin to aid in this type of lifestyle, what we would be deficient in if we are not fortifying ourselves, and just bring it to light, because it's more than likely going to be beneficial for a lot of people. Just observe. All you can do.
So, if Tan has a question or a claim, or excuse me, but I feel the torus field isn't perhaps the ultimate. I'd say it's the hyperboloid torus field.
Hyperboloid is not just a shape within the torus itself. And I should say that again, isn't the shape of a hyperboloid just within the torus itself, and they come as a collective within the torus. And of course, the torus is not the ultimate. The torus, I would say, is God, that people would believe brings physicality in. God is 7 void D form. It's the 7 voids of form, which comes to the 7-color torus map, which is the expression of the torus field, which then brings the 7 colors in, which is physicality. And I would say that is the physical, non-physical God bringing into manifestation form. But even that is an idea of the one. So all of these are concepts and ideas that we can fall trapped to, because physicality is just a dream. Thus, being a non-physical realm, physicality and all of its nature is there to try to decipher that which is true. But what's true is this nowness, the awareness of all of this. in recognizing your source, because your source isn't a Taurus. Taurus came from within your source. Your source is beyond the Taurus. Your source is that which is aware of the Taurus and sees the Taurus, but doesn't judge the Taurus. So yeah, it's absolutely not the ultimate, but it's the ultimate substratum of physical nature, the Taurus field, which is a processional reciprocating hyperboloid in its shape.
I'm going to finish off with a personal question. Best way to burn fat?
Lighter.
Ah.
With a lighter.
Would you recommend eating all day or doing like a intermittent thing, fasting thing?
Science would say that intermittent fasting is not the best way to lose fat. It's more than likely going to take you to a certain level and then hold fat. And raising your metabolic rate through regular eating, keeping your body anabolic, is the best way to maintain muscle mass and burn fat at the same time. But increasing brown fat. So if you had, if you were lucky enough to be able to go out in the cold, like you are, and then go and have a warm shower, keep cycling from hot and cold treatment. It increases the brown fat, which actually helps burning of normal fat.
Okay.
So you could just enjoy hot and cold treatment as a part of your daily routine. Go into a really cold shower and then warm yourself up after. Get into bed. With the vasodilation as well at night time, it also shoots blood to the end of your cells and drops your core temperature. And when your brain's temperature drops like 2-3 degrees, it's the best way to fall asleep as well. And that's what that does. So cold shower, then hot shower, then bed.
Yeah, that's not what I wanted to hear, but I will take it. Also, I I have experimented with hot and cold shower. It's been a while, but or not that long. But it's something I definitely probably should do more, because I'm a bit of a pussy when it comes to cold water. Let's say then, right? So, but I've been contemplating to push myself a little bit, and because we have these lakes nearby the house with the ladder into the water, it's it's quite easy to go and take a bath. Would you say that's beneficial, or is it important to cold and hot also, but just a cold bath?
I mean, the cold and then the hot just creates a nice relaxation, and it's a nice reward for going into the cold. But you can just go into the cold, but it's that vasodilation at nighttime, which is great for helping one fall asleep.
Yeah.
Aiding in like the realization and dropping of your core body temperature. If you have a hot night and a hot day and you're trying to sleep, that it's quite difficult to tend to lose your concentration onto the heat, etc. But when your body's cold, you tend to sleep better and have a deeper sleep. So just doing that is just a great thing in the evening. But yeah, go and experience that. Take the body to the extreme temperatures and build upon that muscle as well. It's great to just shock the body, and it increases the capability to control your mind as such, to be able to have power over that.
So basically 2 hours, brother. I don't know, for those who didn't get their questions answered, come and see us again. Bring them on
Thank
next.
you all so much for being here with us. It's such a pleasure to have you all, and I'm so grateful for your time and energy you spent here. So grateful.
And we are grateful for your time, of course. That it wouldn't. The 2 weeks ago when we did misunderstand the timing, I don't think this is a one-man show, let's say.
I'm sure that everybody loved you.
Yeah, didn't get any questions answered anyway, at least. Okay, thank you, Josh. Thank you, beautiful people. Come back.
Yes, have a beautiful evening, beautiful day, and just remember where the magic is, and it's always here. Let go of the ideas and the concepts that hold you down to thought, pain, suffering. Remember, it's all down to your individual choice. Choose happiness. Choose to let go. Choose virtuous living, virtuous eating, and watch your life change.
Nice. Thank you.
Mm.
Bye-bye. Thank you.